Hi, this is David Shepard with my DFW Nerd Night game design competition. Vlog number 10. I've done 10 of these. Basically going to give a rundown of Panzoo. Obviously there will be a more detailed explanation of the rules later, but for now I'm just going to go over the various components that I've put together and I'm using in the design. First and foremost, I'm using the box to hold it all in, so I'm not sure if that actually counts as a component used. Of the individual components, I'm using one of the D6s, the one with the cute little fuzzy face on it. I will be using the Panda Meeple. I have attached the cardboard to one of these card standees as a first player marker. I will be using the gold brick for the investment payout marker. And then each player will use one of their colored cubes along with this little marker here to show the investors as they travel through their park. From there, I will be using 72 of the 75 cards. First and foremost, there are two cards that are not part of the main deck. The first one is the investor preferences card. So, as I said earlier, you're going to have one of these tokens represent the investors as they go through your park from turn to turn, and basically you use this piece to show which phase you're in, and you go through them all, and then you roll the dice to see which area is the most preferred by the investors. Now, after that is done, if you move the investors to a region, like let's say you rolled a 3 here, if you move them to a forest area, then the forest area is going to get a payout of 3 cards. The grassland and the aquatic regions are going to get a payout of 2, and then the other 2 regions just get a payout of 1. So what happens if you roll a 1 or a 5? Well, then these neighboring regions are the ones that will get payouts of 2. So no matter where you end up on the scale, there's going to be an equal payout. So that's how you get new cards from round to round. The other card that stays universal is the Zoo Prestige card, which is directly related to number 1, everybody starts with 4 prestige, and at the end of the game, however many prestige you have on this chart will actually be worth victory points to add to your score. But everybody puts one of their cubes on this marker, and then as they spend them, they either gain or lose points. Now, prestige points can be used in order to build cards that you may or may not be able to afford. So at the sacrifice of victory points, you could end up spending just to get the more valuable cards out. You gain prestige by one of 2 ways. The first way is playing a card that gives you the little Panda Meeple and he'll go somewhere in the zoo. The next way is if you can move your investor group next to one of the exhibits that would have the Panda Meeple, then you would gain another one of those XP. Previously I had it to where at the beginning of the round, if you had him, you would actually gain the points, but that turned out to be not so fruitful of a mechanic. It tended to be broken, because if somebody just kept drawing cards that couldn't take away the panda, then it becomes a commanding lead. At least this way they have to decide if they want to get more cards or focus on getting more points in the long term. Now the other 70 cards are, as you can tell right now, already sleeved. So we're going to take a look at one of them at random. Maybe not the best one to pick at random. Yeah, okay. So, the cards have 3 components to them. The first one is the zoo components. And the zoo components, they'll tell you which of the 5 types of regions each of these paddocks are. The next region is the cost. Now, majority of these cards will cost between 0 to 3 cards in order to play them. Some cards may have a panda in that bar as well. So if you play this card to your park, you immediately take possession of the panda from another player. Now, the final portion is billboards. I have to say, from a standpoint of artwork, I didn't get around to making the actual billboards that I wanted to do, so as I go forward later on with the design, I might have a ton of different types of individual billboards. But the idea is these are victory point conditions, and then you will secretly play some of them. And then this will say, like, each forest exhibit will be worth a set number of points, 2 victory points in this case, to a maximum of 8 victory points. Now, the way the game is actually played is, in a 2 to 3 player game, you're creating 4x4 grids of cards in front of you. In a 4 to 5 player game, you're creating a 3x12. And whenever you start out, you're going to have a construction phase where you will play a card to your zoo in front of you, discard the cost, and then this card just comes out in a certain way. So let's say it's just like that. Then you do the investor phase where you get to draw more cards, and then you get to go back to the building phase. And in this case, if this is your zoo as it starts out, you have the choice when building out to go to the left, to the right, or because this has a connection to the desert area, you can place it just like that on that stack. And now you have 2 desert exhibits that are actually connected into a larger whole. There are... Let me see. Okay, so then you play another card and you can connect things just like that. So these tend to become a stack, and after the 3rd card in this pile, you can play a billboard on the next construction phase. And in order to play that, you just take a card from your hand and you place it face down like that. And then that would complete this row. And then you have to complete all the regions. So in a 2 to 3 player game, you're going to have 16 cards that you place. In a 4 to 5 player game, you're going to have 12 cards that you place. Similar in this. Now, 2 to 3 player game, it can go off just like that. So, the ultimate goal is to get the most points by connecting your regions as best as you can in various ways. So, your first victory points at the end of the game is going to become Zoo Prestige, and that's just a flat, here's the victory condition, those are the points that you count, and then you add it to your billboards. Whatever your billboards bring in as far as victory points, that's going to become another one of your sources of points. But the largest potential slam against your points is going to become the fact that you're going to be counting how big the different types of exhibits are. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to get your largest exhibit is going to be worth however many animals are in the exhibit minus the number of paddocks outside of that exhibit. So, or exhibits that are outside of the big connecting one. So for example, if I had like a big exhibit of forest, but then I have 3 floating forests that aren't connected to anything, then basically I would count the number of animals in the forest, which would probably be about like 10 or 11, and then I lose 3 points because I have 3 forest exhibits that are off on their own. You do this for each of the 5 types of biomes in the game, and then whatever your victory point total is will be who wins the game. A tiebreaker would be the zoo prestige. A further tiebreaker would just be whoever has the panda going clockwise. So that is a rough overview of Panzoo, and I have the files ready to print as far as some of the cards. However, I want to adjust a couple of the elements because I've discovered with these types of sleeves, that little sticker has a tendency towards covering up some very important information, such as what's the maximum amount of points that you can win off of this type of condition. So that's basically it from me, and now I'm going to start drafting up rules, and of course going to try to get as many playtests in on this as possible before the competition is done. But it looks like I'm going to come out and be able to actually enter, which is great considering last Friday I turned in one game design on a competition, and this Friday I'm turning in a second. So it's all kind of working towards stressing, and I think I'm going to probably take a slight break after Friday. So talk to you all later. Bye.